I'll pass it back to you, Bill. But thank you, Jake. That was wonderful.
Yeah, and I'll reiterate on that. I think another aspect of what the military realizes is that they weren't over there fighting for what they were told they were fighting for when they got there. When you get there and you start seeing what's going on and the realities of war, you start seeing that what you're really fighting for is somebody's profit. You're really fighting so somebody can make a buttload of money. And that's what I think gets to the military members the most and why they're best suited to be peacekeepers and understanding and leaders during this transition, because they've seen the consequences of war. They know that there are people being hurt all over the world for the profiteering of multi-corporations that love to de-enslave other countries and profit from them. And our country, I've characterized it as, been in World War III for quite some time, and the weapon that's being used against us is debt. And the only way to win this war is to take away the weapon. And so I think what people are going to find out is that this transition period is going to be a disarming of the true weapon of war, which is debt. And debt is going to be replaced by prosperity, and the money from the Keenan lawsuit and the understanding of other countries and where the resources of the world need to go are going to be directed to good projects and people that know how to get things done, and secret technology that's been locked up in a safe at the patent office for decades, so that pharmaceutical companies and fossil fuel companies and financial companies and insurance companies can continue to make money. But the time for profiting off of the back and the sweat of the rest of society is over, and the new society is going to be concentrating on how to help your neighbor, how to make sure that everybody gets ahead, not just you. And so, that's the direction I see things moving in. With the information that I got yesterday, even though it was a little holy crap for me to, take in, because there are some details in there that I wasn't prepared for, but I'm assimilating. But I think it's important to remind everybody that we do have some natural-born leaders out there. And they may not think of themselves that way. I know you didn't, and I know I didn't, but getting involved and getting in this quote-unquote fight has been an honor and a privilege. Even though it's been hell, it more than makes up for some of the things that I've done in my life in my military career. So, I appreciate the opportunity to, honor my oath of office, to honor the Navy core values, honor, courage, commitment, and to stick through these hard times and see it to the end. I'm going to pass the mic. Eva has a question for you, Drake.
Okay.
Where do you see Bradley Manning and the whole issue with his being held? How do you foresee this playing out?
Well, we're going to end up with what's called a release of information, an outing. Some of that has already started. You're no longer going to have the secretiveness that has been going on in the past. This includes all finance and all governance. It's going to be transparent, as people like to use the word loosely. The idea of hidden agendas and the other fun and games are going to be done away with. People who have not followed things other than their conscience when they found things that were not right and outed them, I will suggest that they're going to be turned loose and absolved of all convictions of whatever nature they might be. This goes back to a combination of things. One is morality, and the other one is common law. Common law states if there's no injured party and no damaged property, you didn't break the law. Now, that don't mean that you can go get raging drunk and be a problem and not be absconded with. Well, they take you down, put you in jail, let you sleep it off. Next day, might even give you a ride back to your car that they did not tow. That sort of thing. Instead of charging a kid with a felony for drinking beer, they used to pour the beer out and make sure that one of us was sober enough to drive us all home and tell us that if they didn't act right,
follow you home to make sure you got home okay too.
Well, there was another part of that. If we didn't go home, he would take us into temporary custody or under his control and take us to our parents. And I didn't want to deal with my dad on that level. That would be extraordinarily painful for quite some time. So then after he got done, Mom would mess me up. So it's called basic, common law. If you don't really screw up, don't worry about it a whole lot. Now, the other part of this is morality. Everybody should commonly know and understand that you cannot legislate morality. It ain't possible. And if anybody takes exception to the idea that it may be, look at all the different divisions in religious belief. So, best thing I've come up with so far that goes along with my conscience real well is called the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, that sort of pretty much covers everything I can think of. So, and that includes critters, bugs, whatever. So when these things are applied, okay, and they're going to have to be reapplied, and there's a simple reason for it. Our planet is not unlimited in terms of size. It's not unlimited to where you can get away from everybody anymore. But you could get some pretty good peaceful places. The problem is that you have to learn to, like it or not, doesn't matter the differences between you and someone else, be able to at least coexist. You might hate each other's guts, that's fine, but you're not allowed to spread that, and your rights end where the other person's nose begins. So nobody gets to throw the first punch or any of that. You don't egg people on. That ain't the right thing to do. Do unto others, would you like to have somebody doing that to you? No. Very simple. It's not complicated. This basically, like I said, it covers it. And then you have a little thing called a conscience. And you get these ideas. Some of them are pretty squirrely, depending on how crazy you might be at one given point or another, how much you've had to drink. But you got that little conscience in there saying, dude, that ain't a good idea. Don't have that 15th beer, or whatever the reason might be. It's not cool to drive too fast, or whatever. Any old thing. Application. Society is going to have to change from two things. The idea that they can do anything they want to and get away with it, and the idea of convenience. A lot of the problems are caused by instant gratification, where you used to have to save up to get to whatever it was you wanted. Now you can run a credit card by it and snatch it up right now. All of these sorts of things are going to start to change. Now, that don't mean that you're going back to the 1500s and a little mud shack. What it means is that the idea of the manner in which you conduct yourself and your life and your attitude toward others has to fundamentally change. Part of the fundamental change is that instead of having a standing armed military ready to blow you away at any second, you're going to have the biggest job corps you've ever seen in your life. These guys are going to need something to do. Well, what did you do before you came into the military? Oh, as a farmer? Okay. You need to go such and such. We got farmers out there need help. Take about 15, 20 guys, you pick them, and talk to them, find out if they know something, and go. That ideology is what I understand the plan stipulates in terms of general action to be taken. So you got to look at these things. Think about the reality. somebody's too old, they can't cut the grass anymore, you cut the grass for them. You don't worry about, getting gas paid back or any of that. You just do it. So there it is.
Yep, and I want to kind of follow on with that I'm more on the technological side of the house and what's going on that front after the transition starts. I am aware of a couple of brain-boggling projects that are going to get underway, and there's going to be plenty of work to be done, and there's going to be plenty of things that need to be done. And something that's going to change in the U.S. is we're going to start building things again. We have gotten away from that for far too long. We have been a service-based industry and nation to make money. We're going to go back to building some things. And the things we're going to build, you're going to like them. They ain't going to be microwaves and weed whackers. They're going to be stuff you've never even dreamed of. So I'll just follow it up with that. And I think we're going to transition into a new area. I wanted to talk about some of the fear porn that's out there and your take on it. The first and most obvious one that's coming up is Chicago and the NATO conference, and then immediately after that is the G8 summit at Camp David. How do you see those going down?
Well, first of all, you got to know what's going on. Basically, both of those are now what do we do kind of thing. The banks are under extraordinary disruption right now, so that kind of screws the finances all up. So that means that the thieves can't steal too much anymore, and they're wondering what they're supposed to do because the people have gotten the idea that they can be free and that they don't have to put up with that anymore. And these people that are involved might just go to jail. They don't like that very much, so they're trying to figure out what kind of wiggle room they've got. That's one of the basics of it. The other thing was that people have made trips to foreign countries, some of our dignitaries, and basically what they were doing was they were begging for money. Now, if that does not elucidate as to the problems, if that doesn't enlighten people as to the extraordinary situation, I don't know what will. I really don't. Now, I've got some communications I'm going to make after this show that contain a combination of interviews. One of those with Keith is already making its rounds, and I've got a couple of other ones that are going to come out that are going to pretty much shock some people. There are people that are intrinsically guilty, knowing they have been for generations. As you stated, the financial fun and games started hundreds of years ago. Try over 300. The secret organizations that operate in this elite group are coming unglued. And by unglued, there's several of these groups that decided, the underlings decided they didn't like taking orders of the nature they were given. So they absconded with the Treasury, and they're floating around the country with it. So some of these large inside groups, all of a sudden, not only can't they get a bank loan because the bank's broke, but their own individual buddies have taken off with the funds. And they're not going to give them back, and they can't find them. So what do? You go nuts. You get desperate. You do desperate things. Part of that was evidenced in recent trips to China, and China won't have anything to do with them. The people who inherited the collateral accounts are living in China. So that should give everybody a heads up that no. You'll find that people have gone to the Philippines in military force and have been standing opposed. No, you can't have what's in those mountains. Sorry. And this is going on in several different places. The cabal, as such, bad guys, whatever you want to call it, are coming unglued. They got no place to hide, and they've got no place to run. And the idea of even living in a cave won't quite get it. that's not secret enough because everybody now knows, or the people that it counts